you're in tight enough. I would rather you go in too loose, and then I'll go around afterwards and give it a little tap, than to get it down way too tight and jam this against the bottom of the hole. So you really don't want that jammed against the bottom of the hole. That would be no good whatsoever. You're going to have a vascular trace that is not getting any fungicide. Okay, now, and this is always a big question, should we go clockwise or counterclockwise? Clockwise. Usually you look at the tree and decide. I guess Texas Tech here has decided we're going to go clockwise. So we will go clockwise. Yeah. Well, he's got a lot of hats, doesn't he? Yesterday's black. He's got a nice tacky one today. 13. I don't have two. Oh, 2. Okay. They're so nice and clean too. That's we're gonna need to get you sweating up here a little bit. Okay. I almost wore. I have my daughter's boyfriend played on the O-line for 2 years for Texas Tech, and I have drawers full of old football jerseys that he gives out, and some new ones for that matter too. And I almost wore one of them. I had it in the suitcase, but I didn't have the nerve. And it's a little big for me too. The guy weighs 280 and is 6'7", and his shirts don't fit me very well. See that thing. All right, so what I'm going to do, I try to put my tees about 4 inches apart, and you'll notice I try to go in as best I can. Now I'm going to have a hard time doing it, but I'm going to go in an angle. Just kind of look at the what the angle of the surface is against the root, and you can kind of picture so that if I can go in right at 90 degrees parallel with the soil, I'll do it. But these I'm going to have to come down and slant a little bit, and you want to try to get the tee, put it in gently, and go the direction of the hole. You don't want to be jamming it around and pushing into it and that sort of thing, because you don't want to kind of gunge up the, I can't think of the right word, gunges, right? Gunge up the thing so you've got a lot of loose places in it for leakage to come out. I used to have a thing that I put on there to gauge, I don't know what you call those things, but whatever they are, so that I'd always go in at the same depth, but the bark's not always the same depth. And after a while, we took those things off and threw them back in the woods somewhere and said, this is not helping. It's a matter of an art. And I only do about 4 or 5 trees a year now, so my art is not as good as my science, I'm afraid, which probably isn't that great either when it comes to injection.
How do you determine how many injection points you're going to put on this?
Well, that's a good question. If I go, what does the label say? 4 to 6 inches or something like that?
Yeah, and then what you taught us is, as a rule of thumb, it could be somewhere between the same or double. If the diameter of the tree was 10 inches, you might have up to 22 or as few as 10.
Well, actually, I'm going to revise that a little bit, if that's what I said. I usually come out around 3 times the diameter of the tree. I don't have a deep tape with me today. That looks like, what, about 11, 12 inches? Anybody want to call me out on that? 12 inches? That's what I figured. I put enough in for around 12 inches. 1 liter per inch diameter, and then I put a very low rate of Alamo in the bottle, so I'm only going to 10 milliliters per inch diameter.
So typically 12-inch tree, you want 36 injection points, is that what you're...
That's exactly right. We'll see how it comes
out.
And not one. This is something that we used to count the number of injection points, and when we were doing all the research and doing demonstrations on people's land, and we noticed that usually came out to around 3 times. So it's not that I'm shooting for that. As Jamie said, sometimes it'll be much lower.
Well, you're limited on your injection.
Exactly, right. But we generally found out about 3 times the diameter. So. All right, I guess we got to do this.
It's like putting the paper off to the last minute.
Yeah, exactly. Really, yes. All right, I got a few things in the way. So start, let's see. Yeah, you're going to go in this direction. And, all right, we'll, why don't you yeah, okay, just go ahead and, yeah, leave the first one out, okay? So leave this one, and I'm gonna drill right here first.
And put the second one in first.
Yeah, put the second one, and you'll find that the best thing to do is to loop them around, but you don't want kinks. But you are gonna have to loop it a lot of times like that. But you don't want to have a kink in it. Well, if you have a kink in it, then it doesn't flow evenly. And if it doesn't flow evenly, you've got it moving around one side of the tree, and it slows the process way down.
But as far as the loop goes?
Oh, well, it's just a convenient way to get it out of the way.
Okay.
That's all right. You'll figure it out.
You're saying because the distance between them is not that great, so you can't have a straight line.
Yeah.
Should I try to clean these out at all?
Nah. All right, I'm going to let him catch up a little bit. You like to put the tees in right after you drill the hole and get the whole operation going. Think about it, when I drill into that vascular system, I mean, it's a very closed system. The rope's being pulled, the water's being pulled up through the tree. As soon as I drill into it, all those vessels pop. They come to atmospheric pressure. Air fills up the vessels. Now what we're going to try to do is to refill those vessels and get the system going again. I used to have the head of my department was an expert in tree physiology, and we used to get into big arguments about whether or not the tree could repair a vessel. And he was under the opinion that it can. Once a vessel pops, it can never be repaired, and it's going to forever be dysfunctional until the tree lays down a new layer of xylem. I wasn't convinced that was true. Just intuitively, when you inject a tree, you're popping a lot of vessels, and the tree does eventually take it up. And I think it's probably because vascular repair, but neither of us had any proof, so we never got anywhere with the argument. All right, how you doing?
I think I'm doing all right.
All right.